Hi, I'm Jeff, and this is Lithic Metals. Welcome back to my lab. Today, we are going to refine this impure silver shot and turn it into 3/9 fine or better pure silver crystal. We're going to use a method called an electrolytic silver cell. And this is kind of new for me. Usually my setup's a lot larger, and in that process you're left with a lot of electrolyte, and in that electrolyte you have a lot of silver. So to recover that silver, you cement it out, and you're left with a bunch of cemented silver. And that's great to have around, but silver crystal, pure silver crystal, is much better to have around. So what I would like to do, instead of being left over with a big container of cemented silver, I'd like to be able to turn that into shot and then run that again through a smaller device and just recover that. So I'd much rather have pure silver crystal laying around than a container of cemented silver with impurities. It's fine for doing the inquartation process and things like that. It's easy to measure, but still rather just have the silver. So what we have here is a very small cathode, and this process is going to be powered by this simple DC power supply. We have our electrolyte right here that we made in a previous video out of cemented silver from a drop on one of our last silver refines. But you see it has some impurities in it. It should be crystal clear, but we have some coloration. That's copper impurities that are in it. So, but that should be fine for this process. As long as we don't go, I believe it's like 80 grams per liter, 80 grams, yeah, 80 grams per liter of electrolyte of copper. Is that right? As long as we have less than 80 grams per liter of copper in our electrolyte, we're good. And this is like, that's fine. It's not even a couple grams probably, but it's enough to color the solution. Alright, back on track. I often digress. What I have here is a very simple cover that I made. This is going to be the basket that holds our anode. This was a cool little tip I picked up, one of many that I picked up from Sri Tips, which, if you're familiar at all with refining videos, you must have come across him. Driver, Sri Tips. He uses some fantastic methods, and I used to use, for this basket, I used to use a colander, an inside of an old Japanese teapot, and I made my filters out of some material that I came across, and I would wrap it over the side and zip tie it on, and this is much more simplistic. It's a very small container. I'll start with one of these Rubbermaids, cut this inside out, put your filter in, pop a lid on. If you search down Sri Tips videos, he explains in pretty good detail. You know, it's pretty simplistic, but it's nice to see him do it. It's quite a bit smaller than what we normally would use, but here we are. Yeah, between Sri Tips and Palladium, or Aquilia Refining, I'm not sure if I said that right. Between those two guys' channels, you can pick up so many great tips in very accurate detail. But since that's out there, I'll let you search out Sri Tips videos, and maybe I'll put a link to both Sri Tips and Palladium's channels. Okay, so first things first. We have our cathode, and we need to fill it with our electrolyte. Step 1. Normally when I'm starting fresh with electrolyte, it's crystal clear, and it looks more like this color 24 hours later. I think we can, don't want to overdo it. I think we'll be fine putting this all in here. Perfect. Alright. Put this out of the way. Well, the cover I made for this is pretty simple. I thought, oh, it'd be great just to pop it over the top here, but condensation does build on here, and gravity will pull it down over the edges, and I didn't want a bunch of condensate running off the edges. So flip it around. Make sure if anything that does kind of drips back in like a watch glass on a beaker. Let's see here, get this out of my way. We're going to attach our negative lines here. Let's see, I'm going to put it just like, put it through this little Here's our negative connection. So pretty simple process once you're all set up. Yeah, we have our electrolyte pre-made. We have our shot pre-made. Cathode. And we need an anode. This is an anode I used for a couple batches now. It's hanging in there pretty good. Next, we can insert our basket and let that fill up here. I have holes drilled inside here, so it filled right up for us. Next, we're going to want to add our silver. Now, there's this big old 2-ounce chunk. I'm going to put that in there just to break it up so it doesn't splash too much on me here. We'll just load it up. It's such a tiny little thing. That's why you always do it in a dish. Really, I can load this all the way to the top. Silver is a very conductive metal, and so we don't have to let this, when we put our anode on there, that's it. You know, you can bury it in there a little bit, but it doesn't have to be in our solution. Matter of fact, you'd rather keep it out of the solution if possible, as otherwise it would eat away. But I think this will be good for now. Fill in some of the voids a little bit here. Using a clear top, and now I regret not using like a plexiglass so you could see the reaction instantly. But I think we'll just be happy with what we have for this experiment. The next step is going to be to connect our positive line here. I'm just going to bring that right over the top. Double check everything. Our power supply is plugged in, turned off. Settings are already where we need them to be. Negative, positive, pretty simple. Alright, I'm going to turn our power on. I'm just going to lay that right there. We're running right now at about 5 amps. 6.3 volts. That'll be okay. That's that. Alright. We are up and running. It's that simple. You still have to be very cautious. That electrolyte, silver nitrate, man, it is some messy, nasty stuff. Creating it creates terrible fumes. It's not something you want to do in your basement. You need to be in a well-vented area. Normally I would not set this up in my fume booth. Normally this would just be on one of the benches under an open hood on low, just to keep that air flowing. At this state, there's not a lot of fumes coming off, but it does heat up. This process does heat up the electrolyte, causes condensation, causes vapors. So you are breathing it, so you do want airflow. You want that to move away from you. Looks like our power source is pretty steady, and I can already see inside here, I can already see starting crystal growth starting. I have the advantage of moving my head side to side. I'm not sure how well the camera's picking that up, but we'll give this a little time to grow here, and I'll check back on it, and maybe we can lift the lid off and take a peek. See you then. Well, it's been about 5 hours since we put power to this experiment. As you can see, our silver shot has gone down a bit. You know, I say silver shot, but this is more like better called popcorn, you know, popcorn shot. This is more of the consistency that I'm usually looking for. That I'm interested to know if that big 2-ounce chunk is dissolving. I never threw in anything so big before. But let's do this little blast here. Alright. Let this drain out. We'll just open it up, check on it real quick, and put the remaining shot into the basket. Already getting some wicking coming up through the filter that's in here. So I'm gonna see if I can rinse some of that back in here as well. Dried as a little salt residue of sort. Well, let's check the temperature on here. It should be about 80 degrees or so. 90 degrees. A little hotter than in this bowl. Well, it's heavy. Crystals are developing nicely. Very small. This is going to be such a tiny batch. I just put that on here. There we go. Nice, tight, tiny little crystals. That's what I want to see. I also would like to take a peek at this to see how that big 2-ounce chunk is doing. That was the first piece I put in there. Well, I'll tell you what, it certainly isn't the same size as it was. Huh. It's basically gone. It is basically gone. Look at that. I'm shocked. Huh. Usually I try to get the shot nice and tiny to get more surface space all in all, but boy, that ate right through it. Okay. By the looks of it, we're at least 1/3 of our way through already. Maybe closer to half. I don't know. Definitely cooking through it. Alright, let's put her back together. Everything's all set. Anode's in place. Connections, everything's good. And power. Perfect. Alright. We'll let that go for a few more hours and take another look. Alright, I think I'm going to pull the pin on this one. We still have a small amount of shot in the bottom of our basket, but my anoid is starting to sink into the fluid, and I don't want it to corrode away, so that little bit I can save for the next batch. So let's shut her down, get her cleaned up here. Still have a little bit left. Maybe a couple ounces. We'll save that for the next batch. See our crystal growth. Started to get a small tree growing in the bottom there. Beautiful white pure crystals there. Stay there, I think. No. See about pouring this off here. Well, yeah, let's grab a full one. At the end of the process, you're going to have to determine what you're going to do with your electrolyte. Are you going to be able to reuse it? Or is it time to cement out your silver? This batch here, with this small amount that we ran, this still has plenty of life yet. So I'm going to bottle this back up, and then we'll continue to rinse out our crystal. I will end up filtering that solution before I use it, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to just skip that step. See if we can get some clear lighting here. They look very nice. They didn't have much time to really blossom as far as the crystal growth, but they still look very nice. Still see how much color's still in there in the solution here. This stuff really hangs on. I have to wash it really well. Just continue to pour it off in here for now. Alright, at this point, I'm going to change my method up a little bit. I'm going to clean this up and get some hot water going. You might have noticed, I don't know if the camera picked it up or not, but there was some like powder silver here to powdered gold. Well, powder silver floating on top where the surface tension of the water held it up enough to float it out. That'll be processed later and returned, so I'm not gonna worry too much about that. I have some hot water going here. Give that a couple rinses here. Don't normally rinse it and wash it right in the bowl. It's kind of convenient. You might think this is a bit overkill, but you'd be surprised. I'm sure if I take this fluid right now and test it, pour a little bit of the runoff, and add some hydrochloric acid, you're going to see some silver chlorides form. I'm just gonna dry this too, right in this pan. Yeah, just an all-in-one vessel here. Turn that heat back on. And all right, we'll let that dry up, and after that we'll get a weight. Alright, our crystal is all dry, and it is time to get a weight. I'm going to go to grams here. Just over 1 ounce per scoop. Nah. The scale only goes to 300. I think we're going to tip the scale. Absolutely. Damn it. I went past 300. There we go. Tip the scale. Alright, so we got probably like 302 grams, something like that. And about a little over 2 ounces left in our basket from the silver cell. I'm going to take this over to the bench, and I'm going to separate a few ounces and send that off to a customer. Let's get set up on the bench. I sifted through our silver, through our crystals, and took out some of the larger pieces here. I'm gonna ship them off. 3 ounces, 3/9 fine, pure silver crystal. Ready to ship. Alright. Well, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the process. I look forward to doing it again. I'm Jeff. This is Lithic Metals, and I'm out. See you next time.